Hey, today is October 16th, 2016, and I am in post 142 in Waverly, Ohio. It is Sunday, around 2 o'clock, and we're having some food here today and watching some football. And I ran into a very interesting veteran here at the post. His name is Bernie Zamperini. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And I thought I'd give a moment. You guys, you watch me post, kind of watch some of my videos as I trip around the trails and the roads and such, and I thought I'd give you a chance to listen to another vet firsthand to tell some of his experiences. And this guy's pretty interesting, so let me turn it over to him. Go ahead, Bill.
My name is Bernie Zamperini, and I'm a veteran of the United States Air Force. I served from 1979 until 1999. I'm originally from around Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I ended up here in Waverly, Ohio with a former friend of mine that I was first stationed with when I first went in the Air Force. He's my boss now, and I work here. What I did in the Air Force, I worked on radios and navigation equipment on aircraft, and just absolutely loved it. I love working electronics, and I still do that today. I work on a lot of radios for police departments and 911 centers and stuff. Just very interesting stuff, kind of my passion that I've always loved to do for a living. Been very fortunate in being able to do that for a living. Like I said, I was in the Air Force from 1979 to 1999. I served in Desert Storm. That was kind of a big deal. And one of the things I did soon after that, around, if some of you folks remember Desert Storm and Desert Shield, that there was a lot of hype with CNN. You know, they were constantly broadcasting stuff from Saudi Arabia. I was at Dhahran, Saudi Arabia, and then real soon after the ground war ended, I was able to go up to Kuwait for a week, and that was very interesting. And I got to meet a lot of the Kuwaiti GIs and it was pretty unbelievable to me how excited they were about us liberating their country for them. That was just, it really put it all into perspective, and you know how important everything was.
Gave you a sense of purpose.
It sure did. You know, I mean, Kuwaitis were coming up to us, and one thing I remember that was very, very interesting in Kuwait, when it was the very first Kuwaiti Air Force C-130 came back in Kuwait. We were at Kuwait International Airport, and we didn't think much of it. We just kind of brought the airplane in and parked it, and then the airmen coming off the Kuwaiti 130, they come out and they start hugging us, and they were kissing the ground, and we found out it was the very first Kuwaiti Air Force jet to come back in the country since it was liberated. And you know, like I said, that whole thing right there really gave you a perspective of how important it was, what we did for them people when they were able to get their country back. And
yeah, I'm sure that was pretty incredible for you, because I remember when I was in, I always wanted to go home.
Right,
but on the other side of the coin,
you know,
if I'm not home, am I serving a purpose?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, to see them people come off that airplane and they kiss the ground and thank you, Americans, so much for what you've done. You gave us our country back. And it was just kind of like, you know, we thought, oh, we're just blocking in an airplane, you know,
right.
Just normal stuff we've been doing for months on end, you know, bringing them in and marshaling them in, putting chops in, you know, and getting them fuel or whatever. And it was just, you know, it was a major thing to them. And It was like, we were all kind of like awestruck by that, you know.
I bet.
And we ended up making pretty good friends with these people, and it was really funny what one of the guys said to us. You know, he was talking about the country was kind of in shambles. The airport, you know, most of the buildings were blown up and stuff from war, you know, and from when the Americans, we had to bomb that place to get the Iraqis out of there and stuff. And there was a lot of unexploded ordnance everywhere, and one guy said to us, he said, "I hate you seeing our country in shambles like this," and I just kind of in broken English, you know, he says, "I just would love to take you downtown and buy you Budweisers." And it was just really funny to hear that, you know, and it was just really
made you feel
cool.
welcomed.
It made us feel very welcome, and you know, we were living in pretty rough conditions there, and it was only for a week. You know, we were sleeping on cots and in an old kind of tore up building and stuff, right. And we'd sit around at night around the fire and talk with these guys, and like I said, it just really gave you a sense of purpose, why we were there, and kind of, after all the bitching and griping we did about, wanting to go home like any other GI,
Right.
it just kind of made you feel good about what you did.
That's really cool. You were telling me about something as far as your family and what you had a family member that was involved with some pretty heavy stuff during World War II.
Yes, his name was Louis Zamperini, and him and my grandfather were first cousins. And Louis was just a great inspiration. He was a 1936 Olympic runner. He ran in the Olympics with Jesse Owens.
Okay.
Actually met Adolf Hitler.
Wow.
There was a movie that came out in Christmas time of 2014 about him called Unbroken. And it was based on a book written by Laura Hillenbrand in 2010 called Unbroken. And it kind of told his life story. And I was fortunate enough to meet him. As a matter of fact, during Desert Storm was the first contact I had with him.
Right.
He sent me a Christmas card, and it was Christmas time of 1990. And he sent a comic book that kind of told his life story. He, like I said, he was a 1936 Olympic runner. And then during World War II, he enlisted in the Army Air Corps, and he became he was a bombardier on B-24s. And his plane had some engine trouble when they went down in the Pacific, and he ended up surviving on a life raft 47 days at sea. No food or water. They just had to catch sharks and eat their liver, and he was able to survive for 47 days.
I tell you what, I didn't like being on a destroyer for 47 days.
And he, finally they washed up on a beach, but unfortunately, it was a Japanese-controlled beach, and he ended up spending 2 years as a POW.
Wow.
And, some horrible things happened to him there, and just really, really rough. But through it all, he stayed positive, and it was just amazing that he lived through all the things he did. And like one of the things when he sent that book, like I said, it was like a comic book format that kind of told his life story from the Olympics, all, kind of grew up.
Do you still have that?
No, I don't. As a matter of fact, I ended up with all my stuff moving around. Right after Desert Storm, I ended up losing that book, and it really kind of bummed me out, because my mother used to tell me about that when I was a kid, actually, because she had a couple copies of it and lent it to people and didn't get it back. But and then in 1996, I was able to meet him. I was stationed in California.
Right.
And it was just amazing to get to meet him. And I was able to go visit him 7 or 8 times and got to know him. And he welcomed me with open arms, treated me as family, and loved to tell stories. And he was very good at telling stories. And, then as the years moved on, the book became a big time New York bestseller, and he got a little bit more fame, and then the movie was coming out, and he got to be good buddies with Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, and it was kind of neat because he kind of liked to brag about that a little bit.
Yeah.
But he was the type of person that it didn't sound like bragging like you normally think of it. It was, you kind of looked at him and you think, well, that's well deserved, He's
Sure.
And but he continued to be extremely humble, and anytime I called him, he would talk to me as long as I wanted to talk. And
Well, you showed me a picture of him yesterday, and the thing that struck me was that it was in a really relaxed setting. I think it was in an airport.
yes, it was at an airport that's named after him, as a matter of fact.
And I'm looking at him in the picture, and it was a relaxed setting. He was amongst friends, and he had this smile on his face, and it was a smile that kind of, I interpreted that he always wore.
Yeah, he did. He was always very, very upbeat. He, one thing he told me he used to do a lot, and this is, after he was 80 and even into his 90s, is he lived in Hollywood Hills, California, and his people would be jogging by his place. He would say, hey, I'll race you from here to there. And of course, they would beat him, and he would look at them and say, now you can tell people you beat an Olympic runner in a foot race. And he was just like that. He was the type of person that nobody was a stranger to him. And it was just wonderful to me to be able to get to meet him. and he inspired me through so much, starting with Desert Storm.
Right.
We were all, complaining, griping, wanting to go home. And I passed that book around a bunch of my buddies, and we read it, and we saw what he went through, and we said, well, we really can't complain, the conditions we have here aren't so bad,
That's right.
And, if veterans like him prior to us could go through stuff like that, this should be easy for us.
Yeah.
And since then, he's inspired me and just helped me through so many things. He, starting with getting through the war in Desert Storm, and then afterwards, I ended up reconnecting with my daughter after 27 years. She didn't know I was a biological father, and that worked out wonderful. And one of the first things I did is I sent her a copy of the book Unbroken, and because I had made some mistakes, through the years, and I was real open and honest with her about that and told her about that. And I wanted her to know that in the Zamperini bloodline, there was a lot of good there too. And I think he kind of helped me with that. And as a matter of fact, my daughter was also able to get a hold of him on the phone and talk to him.
That's cool.
And she told him she just found out she was a Zamperini and that she was my daughter. He was just absolutely wonderful to her, so he helped me through all that. And then just last year, as a matter of fact, I'm celebrating 1 year today, cancer-free.
Wow.
And there was a lot of quotes he had from his movie and stuff that were kind of got to be famous, and one of them was, if you can take it, you can make it. And boy, I had to say that just a whole bunch of times in the last year, when like I said, I found out I had cancer, and just connecting with my daughter and found out I was a grandfather, again, I had to look back at his life and say, hey, there's people that's made it through a whole lot worse than what I'm going through, so,
Well, it's pretty incredible to not only go through the Desert Storm, but to come home and have to fight cancer.
Right.
And a short decade or so later.
Yeah.
Bernie, I really would like to, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And also for your family's service. Wow. I mean, that's pretty incredible. War II, it's a long time. I get a chance to meet some vets from time to time, and they talk about their experiences and such, and it's always very enjoyable to me, and sometimes very emotional too. But this was really a pleasant surprise, meeting Bernie and listening about his family's service and such. But anyway, Bernie, again, thank you for taking the time to talk to us today.
And I want to thank you too for what you're doing and what you're doing for people with PTSD and for our first responders and our police and EMTs. And it's just wonderful to know that people are doing things like you're doing and just raising awareness for people. And
well, thank you very much.
We've got to take care of our vets.
That's correct. Thank you very much. Well, listen, guys, I'm going to say goodbye for the day and walking for PTSD awareness. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.